I am here at Top of the Hill Music Studios, nestled in beautiful Duvall, Washington. You can see it's a beautiful summer day. I'm going to be going in and trying out the 3 Haynes Alto flutes that I have on trial. I have the 2 Amadeus models, the 570 and the 670, and then I was able to acquire a vintage custom solid silver Haynes flute from the 1950s through Flute Specialists. All right, so I have these 2 Amadeus model flutes that are produced by the Haynes Flute Company. These are what they're making right now, and they're really great flutes. I'm going to pull them out like that. And one is the 570 model is silver plate, and the 670, this is the 570 right here. So the 670 has like a solid silver head joint, and that's going to give it a little more sound. And I actually weighed these flutes earlier, and yeah, they all weigh just a little bit different. And when you're trying to get an alto flute, or a bigger flute, you just really have to think about like how heavy it is, and how long you are going to be playing it, and that kind of thing, and the strength that you might have. And I had like shoulder reconstruction a couple of years ago, so I'm looking for a lighter weight one. So these 2 came directly from the Haynes Flute Company. And this flute is also a Haynes flute, but this is a vintage Haynes flute, what we call it. It's vintage because it was built in about the 1950s. And I got this from Flute Specialists, so I'm going to start putting these together. This one is a solid silver throughout, which is why I opted to try it, because like a solid instrument like this will retain its value over time. And I prefer like straight head joints. A lot of alto flutes come with curved head joints, but I prefer straight ones. So I'm just going to pull these out. And interestingly enough, we're talking about the weight of the flutes. The one that weighs the most is this 670, the Amadeus 670. Now we're talking like ounces. Ounces of difference. So I'll pull that one out. I'm going to move these cases. Have to be super, super careful.
And this one?
This one is the Amadeus 570, and it is the one that weighs the middle. It is the middle weight. So if I am quoting my numbers correctly, this 670 weighs about 1 pound 10.7 ounces. This 570 weighs 1 pound 10.1 ounce, and then this one is like 1 pound 9 ounces. So these are 1 pound 10 pretty much, and this is 1 pound 9. So very, very slight difference, but I can feel it. I can really feel it. I'm going to go ahead and take off. I should have done this earlier. Just take off my rings because I don't want to scratch the flutes with my rings. So the first flute that I'm going to try is the Haynes Amadeus 570. I picked Catherine Hoover's 2 for 2, the first movement, what goes around, because it has so many different little styles. It's got fast, it's got light staccato, it's got loud lyrical and soft lyrical, so, and some low stuff, which we're always looking for great sound on the low end of the alto flute. So here's some fast material from the beginning. is soft and staccato, and I'm looking for a sound that is just really, really light and crisp. Okay, the next section is lyrical, and it gets rather loud lyrical. So we're seeing how the flute reacts to the air that I put into it. All right, so now I'm going to go into some lower material to hear how the low end of this flute sounds. Okay, and then the last section that I want to play in this piece is the espressivo section that is a little bit softer because I want to hear how I can work the dynamics. And I have one other piece. It is this great arrangement that Bohm did of Franz Schubert's Stanzchen. And it has a lot of like really bouncy da 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 da. So I wanted to hear how that works. All right, so that gave me a great example of how the fingers move through the flute as well as the articulation response. Now I'm going to try this Amadeus 670 model. Again, it has a solid silver head joint, and it's a brand new flute, so it feels like it's got great key work. I really like how the keys feel on this one. All right, so I'm going to do the Catherine Hoover piece again. Again, the fast section, and then the staccato soft section, the loud lyrical section, the low section, and then the more nuanced espressivo section. Here's the fast section. Soft staccato. And the louder lyrical. And now the low section. and then the espressivo section. So now I'm going to play the Schubert. All right, so I took just a moment between flutes because this flute, it was built in the 1950s, so that's like 70 years ago compared to these flutes that I'm trying that were just built. And the mechanism and the way it plays is very, very different. So I took just a moment to get the feel for this one under my fingers so I could give it a fair test. It's a lot lighter than the other flutes, which I really appreciate, and I like that. It feels less heavy right here in the head joint. If you compare the two head joints, you can almost not detect that there is a difference in size, but it feels very different on the lip. This one covers more, I can feel more of the flute, and it feels like it's a little bit thicker. And this one feels more like a C flute might feel, a little bit thinner. Okay, so this Haynes custom vintage flute is solid silver. I like the weight of it again. And I'm going to play the same excerpts. So I'm going to start with the Catherine Hoover, the fast part at the beginning. Now the light staccatos. Now the loud lyrical section. The low section. And now the espressivo section. now I'm going to do the Schubert. And it's interesting, the alto flute in the upper register has it has a very different voice. The low register, everyone thinks about alto flute having a really beefy low register and really honking out. So you're getting these like kind of sounds out of the alto flute. One of my favorite ranges of the alto flute is actually the upper register. I really like the sound and the voice, so that's something I'm looking for also in this Schubert excerpt. All right, I really look forward to hearing these three flutes, just listening almost blind, not looking at which flute I'm listening to. I'm just going to go back and randomly listen to them and see which ones I like.